So our top KO artist,
You got knocked the fuck out, man.
man, that's one thing I wanted to go over. There's a lot of people who, whether you're an MMA fan or not, a lot of people like to see finishes, and in particular, a lot of people like to see knockouts. Now that I've been in grappling, recently doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I have more of an appreciation for the grappling side of things. But I've always been a fan of a good finish, a good stand and bang knockout, like somebody who puts the hands on you and you're out cold. And sometimes I don't want to see it brutal too bad. I want, no Mario Yamasaki style, let him die. But I like to see a good finish. How about you?
Who doesn't? You know, like everyone, it does. No one likes seeing a boring on the ground lay and pray. I'm like you. I don't mind seeing aggressive jiu-jitsu, but I think everyone's a fan of the stand-up wars and finishing with a big KO.
Good grappling is cool.
Don't think there's anything more exciting, really.
No, dude, absolutely, man. Other than maybe a good 5-round war, that could be maybe one argument I'd make, but it just depends. So let's get right to this fucking list. I wouldn't say we're not gonna put this in order, okay? Because this isn't gonna be, this is the number one best knockout artist, because it's all personal opinion. Now there is stats obviously that can go with it, but the effectiveness or how the KO is done, that's all personal preference. But one person that stands out to me who's a current active fighter, and we're talking top KO artists in the UFC, particularly this episode, at least I am. I hope you got some extra ones that aren't just UFC, Tyson, because this is all I did. But worst case condition, we'll have a follow-up episode that's other organizations as well, because we watch more than just UFC. But with so many fights going on lately, with the pandemic being such an asshole and Rona being such a bitch, it's been nice that we've been able to have, Abu Dhabi, Yaz Island, Fight Island, whatever you want to call it, and the Apex to be able to have consistent fights going on. And there's been smaller organizations putting them on too, but more than anything, UFC has been really the front and foremost when it comes to sports coming back in the world. So yeah, top 10.
Yeah, well, just on that though, man, credit to UFC. They have been leading the way when it comes to sports during this pandemic. They're, even over here in Australia, our domestic sports have, I don't know, I haven't been real interested in them. That's how good the UFC's been going.
Yeah, keeping me focused.
Yeah, so, no, exactly right. But yeah, jumping into the top 10, man.
So jumping into the top 10 before I get a notification on my phone from somebody on Cannabis Lifestyle TV. Shout out to all the Gromies, of course, who are listening or watching. For me, who stands out? Francis motherfucking Ngannou, whatever you want to call him. Man, the dude is an absolute killer, man. What stands out to me more than any is, of course, the list of names that he's already taken heads from. But man, that Alistair Overeem motherfucking finish in Mortal Kombat style uppercut. Holy shit.
I didn't know someone's neck could snap back that far without, coming off their shoulders. Still stand on their shoulders, man. That was brutal, wasn't it?
Oh, and for him to still be fighting after that, dude, that's like a career-ending knockout. That was fucking crazy, man. I've never seen somebody finished like that brutally from a heavyweight. Like that.
Well, I'm trying to... Was that when it split his lip open, like it made a meal of his lip? Was that or was that a different fight? That was...
Who the fuck was it? He was witted the fight. That was late in the fight. Was that Jared Rose? Oh, he's on. You know what?
Rosenstriker. Yeah,
he's on the motherfucking list.
My
funny
bad.
enough. No, he's good
I should
though.
have put that. Yeah.
I forgot about
should have
that.
segued into it. No. I wouldn't share. No. But
you're good, dude. You're good. Stoners.
Ngannou. Oh, I'm trying to. What other finishes Ngannou got?
Oh man, Junior Dos Santos. That was one that was a little weird. Two that were weird. Junior Dos Santos and Cain Velasquez. Those are both a little weird.
Yeah, with the Cain knee one. Still, he
still lifted him off his feet, and he was out, man. Like, however you want to paint that picture, he finished the top dudes. It was how I look at it is a lot of like how John Jones, good buzz, good weed, it's working. How John Jones, when he came into the UFC, he cleared the light heavyweight division of those icons of Shogun, Machida, Rashad, Rampage. I mean, he took out all of the top dudes that were like, at the time, who were running shit, who were just interchanging the top level, who were always in the running for a title shot, and now they're irrelevant. Most of them are in Bellator. So it comes down to, I think you're getting the same thing going on with Francis. He's going through and he's destroying that division, and there's nobody who's fucked with him other than Stipe. And we'll see if that rematch comes to happen, if he's become more composed and is more conservative in his approach, because I think he just blew his load. That's why he lost that fight.
Yeah, he's a different fighter now. Stipe is the only one that, if you have a look, I don't think anyone else in the heavyweight division wants to fight him.
No.
And I don't even think Stipe wants that fight, to be honest with you.
No.
You have a look at the Derek Lewis fight. I suppose was as boring as batshit, but apart from that,
We
he's
try to
beaten.
not talk about that fight around here.
Yeah, but he's beaten Rosenstrike Jr., Kane. Like he's beaten the who's who in that heavyweight division. And no one wants a piece of him. So I'm glad I'm pretty sure he's getting that title shot with against Stipe, isn't he?
Yeah, unless they give it to Jones if he ever decides to go up to heavyweight. He's talked about it. He says he's doing it, but now he's talking about Izzy. So who knows? That's for another episode. And it's funny you mentioned the most boring fight maybe in UFC history, other than maybe Ken Shamrock and I think Dan Severn. That was fucking horrible. But we got Derek Lewis next. My man, my balls is hot. Shout out to Trey. That's one of his favorite fighters. While his list isn't as attractive, let's say, as something like Ngannou's got. Ngannou 15 wins, 11 knockouts. It's impressive. But who he's fought isn't quite as large. When you look at 24 wins, 19 knockouts, and how many he's had in the UFC, how many fights he's had against high caliber opponents, even too, all the way back. Even though it was a loss, all the way back to Matt Mitrione, which is higher caliber at the time, not high anymore really, but it's crazy to see how long he's been in the game, how he's evolved, throwing double knees, spinning back kicks. I mean, shots that you wouldn't anticipate a big guy to throw, and his stamina's gotten better too. So overall, man, he's a fucking knockout artist, and he's getting better as a fighter.
I was really impressed with his last win. I'm trying to think. Was it
Oledik?
Yeah, it was too.
Yeah, that was very impressive. Honestly, I thought Oledik was going to get him down and submit him. I really did.
Well, he had him in that scarf hold early on.
Yeah.
And I thought he was every chance of tapping to that, and he powered through it. Started the second round, did what he does. And that's the thing with Lewis. I reckon as much as his cardio's not the greatest, he's still got power when he's gassed. Like, how many times have we seen him when you thought and just bang, lands
Alexander
that big
Volkov,
KO.
man.
Yeah.
Woo.
I love his celebration. That's what gets me. Just the way he boom on the chest, bang on the ground, the way he goes.
It's like sometimes I'm like, it's a little disrespectful, a little Tito Ortiz-ish, but at the same time, this sports entertainment, baby. This is what it is.
Yeah. Oh, if you see his Twitter account, he's nothing but entertainment.
Oh, dude, I know. His Twitter is one of the best accumulation of crazy internet shit that you could find on the internet. Period. Yeah. Definitely, no question about it. Like daily, that's the only thing that keeps me on Instagram other than Cannabis Lifestyle is going on there and being like, what's this motherfucker post today? What did we see from Mr. Beast?
I just trying to think that last fight after who was it? Olenek, wasn't it?
Yeah, Olenek.
Olenek. He was talking about he didn't want to fight till he was down to 250 pounds either. I'm trying to think, who did he? Someone called him out.
Curtis Blades, wasn't it?
That's right, it was too. It was Curtis Blades.
Yep.
Yeah, yep. So
that'd be a good fight.
That'll be another exciting one too. Yeah, yep.
Curtis Blades is tough.
That's
man.
the thing.
He's tough.
There's a lot of the heavyweight division's always exciting. They've all got one punch power. Like it's always exciting.
Well, it's got better than it ever has been, especially with people moving up. Augusta said, yeah, he did look great. We'll say he did look great, okay? But he moved up to heavyweight, so we've got him in the mix. We got Anthony Johnson potentially coming back. Well, that is the next one in my list, Anthony Johnson. 16 knockouts, 22 wins, definitely doing his damn thing. Knocked out a lot of people in lighter divisions and at light heavyweight, but now moving up to heavyweight potentially, of course, and being a knockout artist in general. You see the heavyweight division opening up so much more because you've got people who are like, fuck it, it's not an advantage of me cutting weight. Why should I cut a bunch of weight and just barely make 205 when I could be at this weight and be at my prime and be full and have all energy, be hydrated, and do everything to the max? And you look at Anthony Johnson, who was at 170 fucking pounds at one point. I mean, his face, he looked like sick. He was a little weird. To now, he is like a beast, man. He literally looks like he's out powerlifting every single day and eating mad food and smoking blunts at the same time. So I really dig, Anthony Johnson. I've always been a fan of him. His Achilles heel, just like I'd have to say, somebody who he reminds me of a lot is Melvin Gillard. Gillard had the Achilles heel with that rear naked choke. I don't know what it is, man. Kryptonite.
Yeah, no, I've always been a Rumble fan. Even like some of his earlier KOs, even at welterweight, Tommy Spears, that head kick KO, and that Charlie Brenneman, man, he's got some vicious.
Yeah, that Charlie Brenneman was brutal. Yeah. His hair was like.
Yeah, it gets back to his feet and then cops that. I'm just trying to think some of the other. Oh, Beta, like he's knocked out. Yeah,
Dude,
he's
Glover
got.
Teixeira knocked his fucking tooth out of
Yeah,
his
that
face. That
big
was
uppercut.
brutal. Jimmy
Yeah,
Manua, brutal. Alexander
yeah.
Gustafsson, brutal. Nogueira, that uppercut, dude. I mean, he went his comeback, that tear from World Series of Fighting, PFL now, all the way to where he's at now. I mean, coming back to the UFC potentially. He went on a tear, man. The only people who could really do anything to him was the champ, Daniel Cormier. I mean, that's that, and I think heavyweight division is going to be comparable. He doesn't have the submission threat quite as much, but I do tell you, man, Stipe, well, he's got hands. Well, he's a knockout artist too. He probably could have made the list. He's so well rounded at this point that I think he might take him down and work him like he did against, if it gets to that point, like he did Francis the first fight.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
try to
that's the
tire him
thing. I
out.
think the thing with Rumble though is he's only got to touch you.
Oh yeah,
But Francis is in the same boat too. I wouldn't mind seeing Rumble at heavyweight. Like
I would
there's
love to
plenty of
see
exciting
Francis at
fights there for
Rumble.
him. Yeah,
That'd be an interesting
I
one.
yeah, no, there's plenty of exciting fights for him, but I think he's more interested at light heavyweight now that Jones vacated, isn't he? So
He was
I
talking
don't know.
about
It'd be
it.
interesting to see what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, I mean,
So
he's the type of fighter who could easily go between both weights. I think he'd do well. He's not like
yeah,
Cormier is kind of doughy, so fluctuating between two weights, it's not going to be too much for him. But it's not like he's chiseled or in good shape doing these things. It's like he's a little doughier at heavyweight now. You
yeah,
know?
yeah. Nah. Um, Rumble, I think, is probably better suited to wherever he wants to, really.
Yeah, he's
But yeah, no, he's
athletic.
not one. I know where you're coming from. His body type. He's not like Cormier was probably a 205er if he wanted to be,
Fuck it,
but
even
I don't
dude, he
think he
could have
wanted to.
easily been a white 85. Look at Kennedy.
Yeah,
He easily
yeah.
could have
Well,
been.
yeah.
Like, and I think he would have been a
Oh,
beast at 185. A
it's
beast.
funny you say that. He almost has a similar body to what Kennedy did at heavyweight. A little bit,
Just dough, like not
thick in the hips,
fat,
and
but
yeah,
just doughy. You know,
yeah,
just thick.
yeah.
Two
No, I know where you're coming
cc's.
from.
So next
Yeah.
on the list, man. Next on the list. Sorry to interrupt you, brother. I
No,
get
you're
excited
good.
about this guy. A lot of people sleep on him. They say, "Who the fuck is that?" Jeremy Stevens, little motherfucking heathens. Man, he's had some hellacious knockouts. He's been on the bad side recently. Qatar, that was a rough one, but man, he has had some amazing knockouts. Josh Emmett was one that was scary. That was like, oh my god, is he okay? He came down with like the Hendo style drop on him afterwards. Duhoi Choi, that's my dude. Man, he's a beast. Kid is super good. He's just a scrapper. He gets into those firefights. I don't know if it's always good for him, but that was. I mean, I don't think that was even a finish, was it? Oh no, that was a finish. Yeah, Cub
I
Swanson
can't
and him
quite
was a
remember
decision.
now.
That was a
Yeah,
knockout. That's right.
that's the thing with with Stevens. So he's fought the who's who at lightweight, and then when the UFC bring in the lightweight divisions, I reckon where's he even fighting at now? He's at 145, isn't
Yeah.
he?
Yep. 145.
Yeah, so he made the transition down to 145 and had a heap of exciting fights at
Yeah,
145
dude.
too. Like
I mean, you got
he's
Adelis Bermudez was a fucking crazy one. That was a good one. That
yeah,
I think it was a flying knee. Just like he's the type of dude that, depending on what Jeremy Stevens shows up that night, it may be a wrecker, man. But sometimes he just hesitates, or he doesn't get off like he should, or he just throws those hooks, and he's not setting up his fights or his strikes right. He's more telegraphing everything that he's doing, and like I really love his fighting style. But sometimes certain styles, they make fights, of course. He doesn't have that knockout potential. But back at lightweight, man, Marcus Davis, that was a crazy one. You get against the right person, like a boxer, someone who's going to be a little more aggressive with you. Even Rafael dos Anjos, I think he broke his jaw, didn't he? Or was
yeah.
that Clay Guida who broke his jaw?
Oh man, see, you got me there, man.
See,
You're
I do
going
this
back too
shit. This
far,
is
but
what I do.
no, no. Yeah, see, that's the problem. That's the days I remember when Guida was, bouncing around with that head of hair
Yeah, and it was useful.
covered in blood. It was bad. Yeah, no, well, it kind of was to an extent, and then it'd go the other way once he got split open and it was that bloody.
Yeah,
It
he
was like
said
the BJ Penn
the whole fight.
Diego one where the old blood would end up helping the choke. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's the thing. Stevens, man, he's been around a long time
Dude, so
now.
long
Like,
he's even beat um, the former Alpha Male head coach, Justin Buckles, randomly. That's one
yep,
of the thoughts out there, a random. I forgot, like until recently, I'm looking up, on SureDog on putting together this list, making sure I got the names right, because, I'm a weed head, as some people would like to call it. And I was like, Justin Buckles, holy shit, I remember Justin Buckles fighting. That's nuts, man. Like there's certain fighters It's going to go that way with Dwayne Ludwig in 20 years. People are going to be like, he used to be a badass. He used to have the fastest knockout record. But you get so good at one other thing. Now he's the coach. He's that dude. I think Jeremy Stevens has a great team behind him. He's the kind of guy that, like, he could potentially transition into helping those younger dudes. You know what I'm saying? But he likes to fucking scrap, man. I see him going out with like 30 losses, just scrapping. He'll be in a small organization, bare knuckle boxing, doing like, he's a fighter, man. And I love him. I love him. He's one of my favorite fighters to watch. More not so much recently, because he's been losing. But he's the kind of guy that, like, if you got the right matchup, it's gonna be fucking fireworks.
Yeah, no, exactly right. Like you say, blokes like Marcus Davis, see, even Marcus Davis, Jesus Christ, he's been retired for 10 years now, probably.
He tried a little Bellator run, didn't he? That didn't work out.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Well,
but that's what you want. Any of them kind of stand-up fighters where, they'll both stand there and go at it. It suits him down to a T. So I suppose if he wants to go on and, UFC match him up, all right. But it's like everyone now. Once you got a bit of a name, I think the UFC feed you, uses you as a bit of a
you become their gatekeeper, man. They want to build names off you.
Yeah, exactly right.
Fucked up.
Yeah, feed you to the next generation. And,
so another Dave that you betched, man, that I can barely betched, because I can barely say his fucking name, is Jarizino. Jarizino.
Right.
I don't know. Rosenstrike. Beast.
We probably should have called this Blunts and Butchers.
Yeah.
Because the way you and me pronounce names,
fucking
man. Yeah.
Names. Yeah.
Yeah. I think everyone knows who we're talking about.
You'll see him on the screen. If you're listening to this, you need to look him up, man, because he is a beast, dude. Like, well, he hasn't had all the names. He has had sub names. Junior Dos Santos, Ovry, Arlovsky, even Junior Albini. I'd give Junior Albini something. But what stands out to me the most, personally, 76 wins, 64 knockouts in kickboxing. And that's not easy. Now, a lot of people have a lot of fights and they're like, oh, they've fought nobodies. When you go that long with that many fights and you got that many finishes and you transition into MMA and you're 10 knockouts out of 11 fucking wins, that shows you got dynamite, hands and feet, period, dynamite. Now, Stephen Thompson, he had a lot of knockouts. Not so much in the UFC. Certain things don't transition as much. Israel Adesanya, though, he's finishing people. Certain fighters can transition that striking really well into mixed martial arts, and he's one of the dudes that have done it really well. His recent loss, pretty fluky. I mean, Francis went in there throwing windmills. He was ready to take anybody and everybody out with that, even the referee. Like, just... and he caught him. That was all it came down to. Technically, I think that he's a better fighter, but power is power. Any fighter could lose a heavyweight fight with one solid punch. It's just is what it is.
No, I couldn't agree more, man. I remember, fucking names. Rosenstrike fighting in, I think it's Super Combat. So, kickboxing organisation. There's some punch scrappers over there, man. Daniel Sam. Who else? I think Benjamin Jamal Ben Sadiq fought over there. Catlin Morisano. And he fought a lot of these guys, I reckon, in Super Combat. Like, Rosenstrike's, his kickboxing record's legit.
That's what I'm saying. It's not padded.
Nah. And the blokes that he lost to, I'm not sure if he fought in Glory at all or not, but the blokes that he lost to in kickboxing fights are legit. Like, and even some of the wins he's got, they're not. He's a legit kickboxer. When you look at blokes like Adesanya, his record stacks up almost as good as his in comparison. Like, I don't think people realise just what credentials he has.
I think that's on the UFC's bad, man. They need to promote their outside of UFC competition more to say, here's why we got this guy. Like, he's not, at the time he knocked 6 people out in MMA. It ain't about that, man. It's the fact that this guy's a combat fighter. He's got that experience. He's been knocking people out for a long fucking time.
Like you say, man, I couldn't agree more. It's funny. It's like the blokes you have, your Tyrone Spong, so I think Spong, however you pronounce it, had a couple of MMA fights. But generally, a lot of them kickboxers don't make the transition all that well
at all.
But as soon as it goes to the ground, they're in trouble. But, Adesanya, Rosenstrike's another one that he's made that transition, and he's a legit heavyweight in the UFC. I mean, he just beat fucking
Junior Dos Santos. Like,
exactly right.
I have to say, he's getting to the point where he's almost a gatekeeper, man. He's lost enough fights, and he's a name that they're using him as a name. And I see that they're talking about this new guy who's coming into the UFC against Junior Dos Santos. I
I can't quite think.
they
I'm
were
not
just Dana
sure.
was just talking about it on the last card, the post-fight press conference on. We'll talk about that here in a minute on that card. That was an impressive one, but I think that's where Junior Dos Santos is still a tough motherfucker, man. His knockout losses, I wouldn't say are fluky. He gets caught with kind of awkward strikes. It's not like he's in a technical boxing battle, but he's one kind of the fighter that you've been able to see for years, and you could watch his style, and it hasn't evolved a whole lot, so you can kind of get a good game plan and a strategy to beat him. But when you go striking against an elite kickboxer, I don't care how good your boxing is, this dude has seen and done it all. He's got way more fights than 90% of the MMA fighters. So when it comes to striking, you don't want to fuck with somebody like that. This dude will put you to sleep, and he does it. I mean, 10 out of 11 times. And so last on my list, I've only got 6 here actually, so I put top 10. I don't know if you got some text in here, but that may just be blunts to add it to make that 6 instead of 10. So I guess we could have in the comment section, they could add more.
Oh, you can do that if you want.
Yeah.
If they want to add in the last couple, if you want, I could probably just touch on a couple of glory.
Yeah, let's touch on that. But this
artists,
next
if you
dude,
want.
well, yeah, do that, and then I'll do the last guy on my list because that'll lead into something next.
All right then. Well, I'll start with Cedric Doombay, and we'll. I don't know. We might have to have a bit of a look at this card coming up. Glory's got a card coming up at the start of next month, and Cedric Doombay will be fighting. Groenhart. See, man, I told you it should have been Blunts and Butchers. Groenhart, I think's his name, and Cedric Doombay. He's a 170 pounder, but he hits as hard as anyone. At any weight division, man.
Oh yeah, just got the technique.
I'm not quite sure. Yeah. He's. I'm just trying to think of some of the. See, you caught me off guard here. I'm just trying to think of how many KOs, what his record is. He's
It's all good. We'll pop it on the screen. We will pop that shit on the screen. That gives you reason if you're listening to this on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, whatever you're listening to. Hop over to YouTube. Check out the clip side of things because we're gonna have those up every single week, multiple a week. And for when we're really stoned, we'll just edit things in. You'll see that, like in this case.
Yeah. No, exactly right. So, we'll throw up some clips of Doombay there. And like I said, we'll probably try and talk about him a little bit more maybe, in a few weeks before that card.
Yeah, I think we should definitely go over that. That certain cards like that I don't think we'll get fucked with as much, we could probably do a fight companion and show it on the screen. And we're promoting these companies like any MMA or any business would want. Any organization would say, hey, wait, you're promoting our fights for free? Yeah, we are. Fucking crazy.
Fucking UFC.
So who else would you put? Also as another kickboxer, or what about a local guy?
I suppose if you want to, I could probably touch on a local guy. So we had an Eternal event a couple of weeks ago. I think it was a week and a half ago now. It was on Fight Pass. Jack Della. He, young lad, he started off his professional career with 2 losses and lost to Aiden Bates. And since then, he's gone on to win his next 9, all finishes, I think all bar 1 inside the first round. And he just recently had that rematch with with Aiden Bates, knocked him out inside the first minute and a half, I reckon it was. It was on Fight Pass. So he's an exciting young lad who hopefully we get to see a little bit more. Hopefully he gets a chance in the Contender Series or something like that. That card was on Fight Pass. He jumped on the mic afterwards, he said all the right things. So, it'd be good to see him. And he's won that just recently, but apart from that, most of our best knockout artists,
we already took.
Robbie Whittaker, they're in the UFC, mate. Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah. Well, I'd have to say my last one, man, that I'm going to add it to. Whether this be top 10 or top whatever, add the additional ones in the comment section because we're a little stoned. Hopefully you are too as you listen or watch. Justin motherfucking Gaethje. Been one of my favorite dudes since World Series of Fighting, man. The guy is a brawler. And what's crazy is he's got more skills than he does like anything, and he doesn't use them most of the time. Other than watching the fight fucking hype for this most recent one here, it was behind the scenes UFC build up, whatever the fuck they call it. Again, stoned. It was really interesting to hear his coach, Trevor Whitman, kind of break down perfectly because he kept him reserved. He kept him relaxed. He kept him in the right mindset. And man, did he beat the shit out of fucking Tony Ferguson. And I did not anticipate that by any means. I thought it was going to be a brawl, but he fought a calculated, intelligent fight. So it shows not only can he be one of the most brutal knockout artists, he's got more post-fight bonuses in the UFC than he does fights. It's insane. That's nuts. Like, who the fuck that's just a crazy stat alone to have that. But the fact also, 22 wins, 19 knockouts, and he's a wrestler. But when have you seen him wrestle? He's got no takedown attempts in the UFC.
He uses his wrestling for one thing and one thing only, and that's to keep the fight on its feet.
He's an
so he can try and
anti-wrestler.
take your head off. Yeah. Either break, and even then he'll try and break your legs down and then take your head off, or just break your legs down or take your head off either. He doesn't want to take it to the ground.
Dude, brutal leg kicks, man. He's got,
Oh.
I mean, some of the most deadly leg kicks. I am one of the only people I know, other than I'm starting to convince you, I'm starting to get you into the Gaethje cult. I think Gaethje's going to pull the upset, man. I think he's got all the tools to do it. But we'll jump into that in a second. Let me hold you back because we got a lot to say. I got a lot of thoughts on that one. With Justin Gaethje, let's run down a couple of the UFC hypes, because there's ones outside of it that are really, really good, but ones that stand out. Michael Johnson, crazy. That was a real good one. James Vick, that one felt great because James Vick talked the shit he did beforehand. Homer Simpson style. I mean, just was a different person. James Vick is not that shit talker, and he was for that, and he ate it. It was great. Edson Barbosa, that was a shocker. Didn't anticipate that one, to be honest with you. That one, I didn't think Edson Barbosa would get in the firefight with him, which he really didn't. But he got into enough of a striking battle that wasn't technical that it opened it up for Gaethje to just chase him down and catch him with the fucking bolo.
Yeah, and that's all he's got to do. He's only got to catch you. And I think the best thing for him is the fact that he's got Trevor, what is it? Whitman in his corner, who, man, he's a genius.
Dude, there's a reason ESPN hired him, to break things down. The guy
Yeah.
is very, very smart with it. He breaks things down in a way that, like, you understand it, and it's still elegant. It doesn't sound like layman's everything he says, but at the same time, it's even his fighters, man. Like, you listen to the conversations he's having, and it's not like your normal coach. He's like, all right, you got to get in there and knock him out. He's talking. He's like, you know better than this, Justin. You need to make sure that you go in there and you're touching him. You're not putting all your power into it. You're landing clean and you're touching him. He wants to brawl with you. Make it a fight, not a brawl. And he goes in and, I mean, to the T. Whitman's like, this is world class as he's watching it. Because he's seen it. He's like, he's impressed with his own student. But that's the difference when you have, that's like TJ Dillashaw and Dwayne Ludwig. Just said his name. I'm stoned, obviously. That connection with corners. Not everybody needs a corner. Mike Perry, he's got his woman. He's auctioning off a spot now if you'd like to get that. But you've got
Darren Till's first in line, I think.
He'll be raw dogging that. But you've got, that connection, I think, is really what's taken that raw talent that Justin Gaethje has and turned it into this fucking knockout artist, talented fucking beast. Interim champ. Well, he wants to claim it or not. Interim champ. He did his thing. He beat Tony Ferguson. I honestly had Ferguson winning that fight. I thought Ferguson was going to pull it out, but I lost some money on that one. I did
too. And he just beat the living shit out of Ferguson.
I mean, so much so that he looked like a dog that got hit by a car afterwards. He's like,
yeah.
It was crazy.
No, exactly right. He beat the shit out of him. But another Gaethje one, even the Cerrone knockout.
Oh, yeah. How did I forget about that?
Nah,
what the fuck is wrong with me? Even like fights that he's lost, like Poirier and Alvarez. Fucking amazing fights. I mean, just amazing fights. People forget he lost.
We'll touch more on that, when we get into Khabib Gaethje. But I think he might have even fought tougher competition in the UFC than what Khabib has.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? Fuck it. Let's jump right into that right now.